How can you not be romantic about baseball?
Those of us who do enjoy baseball, I think, bring to the park experiences with our families, our experiences growing up with the sport. It's a narrative sport. It takes its time telling its story over 9 innings with people trying to round the bases and go home. There's a very warm feeling about being at a baseball game that's unlike any other sport.
Action.
Great pains were taken in the recreation of these things to be literal about it, and that there's as little bias laid on top of it as possible, but really draws from the natural miracle of the game and what happened that season. We basically began with the archival footage and said that's what we're committing to.
So it sort of put a human face on this sport that we think of as being, hot dogs and fun.
We provided thousands of hours of archival film and video of the 2002 A's season for the filmmakers.
Around third, carrying for the plate. Here comes a tying run. Sliding.
We do all the product placement, so from set dressing and props and wardrobe, making sure that all of our licensees and our licensed product is represented properly and that the producers and the wardrobe people have everything they need.
We wanted it to have the veracity of the actual story and did not want to exaggerate things for dramatic or comedic expediency, and what happened is literal. And because it's so unbelievable, you don't want to mess with it.
Worked with Bennett before, and I love working with him, but the fact that it was a baseball movie, it was just, an added bonus for me.
And pitch. Heads up. My ball.
Jess Gonshore is one of these geniuses who very quietly can move mountains and understand the task of how to make an environment look literal, but also to conjure an atmosphere that's appropriate for whatever it is that we're doing.
Action, action.
Well, it's either the best thing to happen to baseball or the worst.
It had to be authentic because it's, a piece of history. Having the Major League Baseball and the A's on board was huge. Spent a lot of time in the Coliseum, on the field, inside the locker room, inside the weight room, inside Art's office. They were very, very open to us going and embracing that whole thing.
It is a period movie. In baseball, the details change ever so slightly from season to season. And over the course of a decade, fans, even a most casual fan, might be able to detect if something is not exactly right. So that's why there was this interest from all parties to make sure that the details were 100% accurate.
One of the things that I wanted to do in this movie was have this sense of expanding and contracting. So when you're on the field, you have this thing, and then you're almost subterranean in the locker room facility, and you open it up and close it up, open it up. This is like, like breathing in a way. It's a big set. It took about 3 months to build, paint, furnish, put the carpeting and all. Well, the fact that we even shot in Oakland at the Coliseum for 2 weeks, it just, opened up the whole world, and it really put a valid stamp on this whole thing. And it also gave us a few extra weeks to get the set ready, which is everything that you see in a locker room or a weight room or a training room. It's like all this set on stage, and it's all subterranean and fluorescent lit. The anchor was the locker room. It's the biggest thing in there. Sort of established that was the anchor of the complex, and then put a hallway off here and an office off here and another room here, and just really evolved. You know, even though it's 2002, it's dated. It's like a massive concrete structure, and we wanted to echo that through that set, which is the bottom of the, you know, the Coliseum, the clubhouse. You know, you have to strip away layers that say it's 2010, even if it's lack of, you know, new cell phones or just, you know, the artwork. Dodger Stadium is so unique, just the color of the seats, and it's in the ravine, and it's like nothing else that you've ever seen. So it's a big location to book. That's pretty much what you're up against is, you know, changing out signage and backstops and dressing, and obviously the uniforms and the way that it's shot. This is Blair Field, and we're in Long Beach, California. We turned it into the A's spring training facility, which is in Arizona. So that's what's going on here today. What I really wanted to do is simplify it, because they had a lot of crazy ads here, and I sort of thinned it out and gave it just a palette that I liked, that was just small town enough, but not too cartoony, which is what these facilities are. They're for, you know, the fans that don't get to go to the big league games. They come watch spring training or minor league, things like that. So all the things are simple. We had to take down all the signage that was here and replace it with Phoenix, Arizona related things, and redo the scoreboard and turn it into the A's locker room.
Okay, on the mark. Set. And action!
Kasha is an artist. Her challenge on this thing is to take from the limited vocabulary and not only create a language, but tell a story with it. And I think that the costumes are probably one of the more underappreciated little triumphs of this movie.
We felt generally with Bennett that as long as the film is really soaked with reality, then it gives us place to jump away from the reality, to veer off from it, and we'll create a package that will feel real. I mean, there's definitely a strict control of the palette, but we all reacted to the look of the stadium and to the colors of the Oakland A's. On one hand, there is very straightforward code of the colors and the baseball team itself, so that dictates certain palette. But I think that as within a movie, we're looking for a little bit more iconic look of the film. The uniforms are in the hands of the exquisite master of uniforms, Ed Hanley. Ed has a great relationship with Major League Baseball, and there was a very close collaboration.
If you're going to go back and do baseball and do Major League Baseball, you really have to get the details right. The current Major League Baseball licensee, Majestic, manufactured all these uniforms that you see, and all the licensees for Major League Baseball worked with us and did a great job.
The thing that struck me the most about this film was the attention to detail and just the uniforms in general, and the amount of teams that were represented in the film. And going back to 2002, it might not seem that there were a lot of uniform changes, but there were. And so really just the wardrobe department did a tremendous job in really making sure that it was authentic to the time period.
Traditionally, forever, baseball is gray is away and white is home. So that's always been the case. And actually, the A's have a fairly simple uniform. They don't have any trim on their pants. There are green jerseys. There's a third jersey. Most teams in Major League Baseball have a third jersey now, and since 2002. They have a batting practice jersey and a batting practice hat that has a kind of an odd patch, an elephant with a pair of sunglasses on it. Those are things that you dig up. The team originally was the Philadelphia A's, and there was an elephant on that uniform. I'm not really sure how an elephant became their mascot, but Stomper comes from the elephant. That's always been around. The pants have to be right, they have to fit right, they have to look like each individual kind of customize his own look, and you want to get that right. And in 2002, a lot of guys started to wear their pants longer, and they took the elastic out of the bottom and they let it go over the heel of the shoe.
You may not look like a winning team, but you are one.
There are so many rules broken within the styles of baseball, how the baseball were evolved. I mean, the fit of the pants from super tight and short to big and baggy and loose.
The A's, especially after the 70s and into the 80s, were free spirits, and these guys did start to change their looks. We have one of the players, Chavez, would take his laces and cut holes in the front of his pants and put the laces up through the pants and tie, things like that. So guys did that so they could hold their pants down, and they were altering the look of the baseball uniform.
We made an effort to separate Billy Beane from the rest of the players. Everybody else becomes a little bit more toned down. Generally through the whole film, we are using so many elements from reality. I think that it needed to become life as it is. And knowing that the real Billy Beane exists and there's wealth of information from the real character. We have to find a place where it all merges, when it works for our character. For the film, we avoided any brighter colors, even though in reality Billy Beane, we've seen pictures of him wearing much brighter colors.
One of the things that we knew about Art Howe is that he's always got that jacket on. And we wanted to get the 2002 version of that jacket. I called the spring training complex in Phoenix, Arizona, and the guy there went digging in the closets for some of the old jackets and things that they had there, and he found the Art Howe jacket with the number 18 in it. So he was able to give me like 15 of those jackets.
The crowd that came in Oakland to be the baseball crowd was fantastic. They had fantastic wear for the baseball theme, where there was so much variation within it, and that's the most difficult part for us to provide as a costume department. They had collected this for years, and they came with enough variations that they looked like a real crowd. With bright colors and logos and variety of styles, and to see this whole range of life, knowing that those are the people who are coming to see the baseball games. Once again, it becomes a specific vocabulary.
Sky, because I'm going to move my camera in a dangerous zone, let's stop this action here. No balls coming this way. Yeah?
There's a reality base that's there. It's not overblown or oversaturated or over-stylized. And I think that is present, with what Wally and Bennett are doing on Moneyball.
I try to keep the same sensibilities going, whether it's, a film for Chris Nolan or a film for Bennett Miller. And really, I guess that is sort of what defines my style, if there is a style. But is everything does come from a naturalistic point, and I do like using darkness as a tool for the drama and for the mood.
Wally has a style that really adapts to the truth of a situation. And he's a sort of DP that will enter into a scene, and his impulse would be to approach it in a way that joins what it actually is, to observe it, instead of, reordering everything and recreating and just, reconceiving how a thing should look or feel.
We seem to have the same taste in storytelling sensibilities, and our points of reference are coming from exactly the same place. These films from the 70s became sort of our key models for how this film should feel and look. It was very important to me to shoot this movie on film rather than some digital format, because I really felt that film has sort of the soul and the depth to be able to tell the story the way we needed to tell it.
Pictures up.
Wally's got to be one of the best at working with natural environments, natural light, and let's just enhance this in a way that it's already working, which is also a style that I like quite a bit. That, coupled with the fact that he's just a genius and, one of the greatest, it made it a really, really nice fit, ultimately, for this film.
It's almost an invisible style, where you just feel, that you're watching something really credible.
I don't employ a lot of trickery. It's more about serving the story with the lighting and with the camera movement and deciding where the best place is to place that camera. To me, that's much more important where I put my focus than the equipment or, the stuff that I use. But in this movie, I'm also embracing the brighter environments. And the reality is, without the brighter environments, you can't have the darker environments. So it really is a balance, of what you're doing narratively. And where you're taking that visually from dark to the light.
Because there is an archive of broadcast, televised baseball that documents what happened. We not only drew from that to choreograph what happened on the field, but it's intercut with the footage that we shot just to reinforce and heighten the understanding that this really happened.
I tried to do something different with the nighttime baseball material in that if you look out at one of these stadiums, generally all the lights in the stadium are turned on to create a very even light for the television cameras and for the viewers that are there, for the audience. In the case of what we're doing, I wanted to have a little more mood to it, and I thought it'd be more filmic if we were able to turn off a lot of the lights. So in general, I shut off about half the stadium lights. I did that very judiciously and tried to find a formula that seemed to work where I could make it more filmic and a little bit darker, but still within the reality of what baseball looks like at night. For the flashback scenes, we actually decided to not do any kind of, radical treatment to the film. There's some archival material we shot on videotape and some of our own baseball material to match archival footage. Really, the Oakland Coliseum is a character in this movie, and so the beginning of the movie, we show off, the Coliseum as a character, and we have a series of vignette shots showing this old soul, the old battleship, that's hosted so many of these games and is really kind of the home to our story.
What a dump.
We've figured out how to recreate the emotional authenticity.
I really wanted to win here. I really did.
There is a respect that you have when you walk onto the Oakland Coliseum field and you know that you're walking across the same grounds that Reggie Jackson walked across, Catfish Hunter and these heroes, from that era. And it is very sacred ground.
I think you won pretty big, Billy.
Pete, we lost. We lost.
It's only been a few days. You got to give yourself some time to get over it.
This was really a collaborative effort. They understand that we have an area of expertise and we know baseball, and they really came to us for guidance and for assistance on a lot of things. And that was what was really nice. It felt at the end of the day that, they made us feel like a part of the production.
1-2 pitch. Alisea puts it in play, a loop to left field, it's in for a base hit.
On other films, you might see baseball footage used in the background for playback, but on Moneyball, it was used for everything from casting, set design, costumes, cinematography, and editing for the elaborate baseball montages throughout the film.
Game series 5-3.
Tejada walks. Ball 4. Ball 4 and Hatteberg.
In the end, it's a baseball movie, but it's not, a baseball movie. It's a movie that has, some baseball around it, I think.
Goes to second for the only out, and the A's got a run.
It's a film that respects and appreciates what the game is. There will always be a human, mysterious component to the game. It's not possible to sterilize it. It's just a game that, as much as you try to, reduce it to a formula and distill it to some kind of math or science, it still produces inexplicable outcomes.
Few scouts can go into the mind of a young man and determine whether he's really...
We have the things that baseball fans like about baseball. The inspiring stories, the comeback stories, the crash and burn stories, but then the rising from the ashes stories.
Come on, let's go. So close.
There are scenes that if we changed anything, I think we'd be accused of the worst kind of an inappropriate exaggeration. So we really stuck to it.
They call it Moneyball.
Moneyball.
Yes, so now it's just not working out.
Billy Beane has built this team.
In 103 years of American League Baseball, the Athletics have accomplished what no one has before.